wanna be a champion. Yeah, I got what it takes, risk it all, make my own fate.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WPW Podcast. I am here with my good friend Matt Petry.
Thank you for agreeing to do this podcast with me, Gabe. I'm very excited to talk some wrestling with you.
This is going to be fantastic. Now, Petry, what does WPW stand for?
It stands for Walerysiak Petry Wrestling.
Of course, as always. So this is a brand new podcast focused specifically on all sorts of wrestling. We're doing WWE, we're doing New Japan Pro Wrestling, we're going to be doing a lot of different stuff like Impact.
Who knows? AEW.
You know, yeah, we got a lot of Ring of Honor, NXT.
There's just so much to do in the world of wrestling, and we're going to cover it all.
We're going to cover it all. However, this first episode,
what better timing?
It was a pretty good timing, can't lie. We have a major event that just happened this past Sunday.
Just a little under-the-radar pay-per-view. A lot of you uncultured fans may not even know what it is. It's this little thing called WrestleMania, and it happened this Sunday.
I haven't heard of that, Petry.
It's run by this. It's a little indie company known as WWE, and they run it once a year. And I think we have a lot to talk about from this year's.
Oh, there's plenty of talk.
They gave us a lot of material.
They gave us so much material. I'm sure the 82,000 plus fans in attendance were definitely excited by this, small event that was kind of not really.
I mean, outside of a few questionable things here and there and a finish that I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Oh, absolutely. So, guys, I hope you are excited for this new podcast. We're going to try and making this a weekly thing. And, just stay tuned. If we have, I don't know, we might have a Twitter account or an Instagram, whatever.
Twitter account,
YouTube
maybe,
account.
Maybe we'll do some cross-promotion with G-Willer's YouTube channel and some Overtime Radio and Mr. Game Boy. I mean, there's a lot of pieces moving.
For promotion, for exposure for this podcast. But if you guys enjoy wrestling, feel free to share this. And if you
please.
Email us, tweet us your questions, please do so. We will get to them in subsequent shows. And yeah, this is just going to be a nice, chill, cool, podcast for you guys can relate to us college students as we share our opinions on the wrestling world,
the wrestling landscape as it is today. And you know what, we were talking about WrestleMania, and I don't know about you, but I kind of want to jump in. Opening match, not of the pre-show but of the main show. Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. Let's just dive into it. What were your thoughts on this match?
This was a quite interesting match. I was laughing when Paul Heyman was walking out of the entrance as Hogan and Alexa Bliss were finishing their things.
They were doing such nice poses together.
Yeah.
I mean, Alexa was kind of upstaging Hulk a little bit, bulging biceps and all.
Yeah.
Hulkster clearly out of it. I mean,
he's been out of it for quite a few years.
And then all of a sudden, no music, no nothing. Just you see him power strut past both of them.
Yeah, just like it's nobody's business. And Paul Heyman's reasoning for having Brock Lesnar facing the opening match of the card is that Brock Lesnar had a planned flight to Vegas and that he wanted to get out of the WrestleMania as soon as possible, and if Brock Lesnar was not going to be competing in the last show, the last match, the main event, then he just wanted to be the first match and get it over with. Which, let's be real, Petry, Brock Lesnar has faced not in the main event or not in the opening in WrestleMania 33 against Goldberg and 32 against Ambrose. So, I mean, he's used to not being in the opening or the main event. Why they have this sudden change of opinions, I don't know, but it was entertaining.
I kind of like it. It was a good match to open the show. It kind of fits with, they've really been playing up the whole Lesnar is kind of discontent. They've been hyping up the maybe he's going back to UFC deal. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's definitely, I thought it fit well with the story, and I mean, they've built the story really well. Rollins, the homegrown WWE Universe's hero.
Oh, yeah.
Lesnar will suplex everyone that's moving 8 times, hit him with an F5, and walk away for 2 months with the championship.
Yeah.
It was a good build, and that match. I was a little worried when Rollins just got mugged to start off.
Jumped before the bell even rang. So,
I was figuring a squash, just maybe not the squash they ended up giving us.
Yeah, you're right. So would you like to describe that squash?
Well, it looked like it was just about to be all said and done, all over. Lesnar's got him up on the shoulders, but suddenly Rollins' leg catches the ref. The ref's down.
Yes.
And as any wily superstar knows to do against Lesnar, if the ref's not looking, the groin shot's open. And Rollins connected, and 3 curb stomps later, we had ourselves a new Universal Champion.
This was absolutely fantastic. I was shocked more than anything. I was going to say I was jumping up and screaming, but that's completely false. I was just sitting there
we were just in stunned silence.
What just happened? It was so cool.
Because we're so used to it was such a good moment. It puts Rollins over so much. And I mean,
it doesn't even hurt Lesnar that much.
It really doesn't. I mean, he took 3 curb stomps, and the curb stomp's one of the most protected moves in all of the company. So
it's that, and like you have the groin shot controversy, but so
exactly.
I think this match, it was 2.5 minutes in length total, like from when the bell officially rang to when Seth Rollins pinned him 1, 2, 3. But I just really enjoyed the match. The fans were getting into it, and it just took such a wild twist that nobody saw coming. It was
the type of good surprise that you want to open a Mania with. It really kind of set the tone for what the whole show turned out to be.
Exactly. So we were getting some good looks from this first match. And we're spending more time talking about this match than how long the match actually was.
I was about to say, sometimes you don't have to book a 30-minute match to have it be a classic moment.
Exactly.
Like, if you can make it and they did a believable way, because a lot of people's big complaint about this match was, well, how does Rollins believably beat Lesnar? Well, Lesnar gets too cocky, gets popped in the no-no parts, and 3 stomps to the face later, and even Brock Lesnar can be knocked unconscious.
Yes, sir.
For those who weren't paying attention enough, rewatch that match and just pay attention to Heyman's facial expressions.
Yes, yes, guys. WWE Network, $9.99 a month. I would recommend getting it. If you don't have it, please watch WrestleMania 35 if you haven't already. If not, just watch the first match.
Watch the first match, last match. The Kofi, I'd watch
a lot of matches.
Honestly,
we're going to be covering some of this stuff.
We probably won't say this a lot throughout the year about many WWE pay-per-views, but this is one of the ones I would say go back and watch just about every match.
Yes, I wanted to save this remark toward the end of the show, but I want to say it now. This is probably my favorite Mania in the past decade or so. It was just that good. But we're going to get into our reasons why, as we go through the show matches. So, next match on the card, would you want to talk about more, or should we move on?
I'm down to.
Yeah, okay, we're down to move on. Next match on the card, we had AJ Styles versus Randy Orton, just a standard one-on-one match with nothing really on the stake besides just, bragging rights or whatever.
Yeah.
Just a standard good old rivalry match.
I thought they did a good job. I mean, it was kind of like, at first it was just, okay, Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. I mean, they're both really good at what they do. They'll put on a fine match. But I like the route they took the feud where, Randy Orton, he's been there for almost closing in on 2 decades now.
That's kind of crazy.
And I liked the route where it was like, he was talking about how you claim this is the house you built, but I've never left. I've been here since day one. Mm-hmm. AJ pointing out that, you've had help all the way, despite him kind of ignoring that he had Bullet Club for a little bit. Yeah. He's had a few of his own stables here and there, but we can ignore that. None of that was in WWE.
Nah.
Actually, the club was in WWE.
Just for a bit.
Just for a tiny bit. Actually, since they've been on SmackDown together, I'm a little surprised they haven't done anything together.
I'm really kind of shocked, that they're just kind of making Gallows and Anderson just a joke.
Are they going to go to AEW?
If they keep treating them this way,
honestly,
maybe.
I kind of hope that this, maybe this time near Survivor Series, I hope the club's been rebuilt into this big thing, and it's the club versus some team of baby faces, and it's club versus WWE.
That would be really cool.
I think that'd be a cool little Survivor Series build, but obviously that's not the case for now. It was babyface Styles versus heel Orton, and it was just a really good match in my opinion. Nothing special.
Nothing memorable, iconic. It had to follow Rollins.
Exactly.
So you're not going to remember much from the match.
It didn't kill the crowd. The crowd were solid throughout, and it was a good match.
It was a good match. Yeah, no, in AJ Styles came out the winner for those of you who don't know, and I don't disagree with those results. I'm perfectly fine with AJ Styles coming out on top. This is his 3rd Mania win in a row, so he's doing pretty good for himself.
He's been a guy who's proven you can put the belt on him at any time. The fans love him. Both kids love him. Mm-hmm. The hardcore internet fans love him. He can work with anyone from Lesnar to Mysterio.
Yeah.
I think it's good to.
At it since
he took it. He was willing to take that loss to Jericho his first Mania.
Oh yeah.
I think he's done everything he can to kind of show WWE hey, even though it took 15 years to get here.
He's kind of the real deal.
Yeah, he's. It's only the only real shame is that they got him so late in his career because now he's already kind of starting to go on that reduced schedule.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's
like 40.
40 and he's got kids and
he can still
family.
kick at 40, guys.
Yeah. Can still hit a 450 splash. I mean, I can't hit a 450 splash in college.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Owens can hit a 450 splash, so.
That is true, yeah. Oh, man. But that was also a good match. Overall, this pay-per-view has just been, the theming has just been good matches.
It was.
Really was.
And there were really not many, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm assuming most people who are listening have seen the show. It was a very feel-good event. I mean, a lot of just feel-good wins.
Yeah.
Not a lot of downers.
Yeah, nothing swerved that really tanked our expectations. Nothing that didn't made us upset at the company. Even
certain, like you said, like there were certain swerves in the night that maybe like from a storyline perspective, it's like, that guy didn't get his comeuppance or anything, but it was done in such a really creative way that it was still just more part of the great moment. You still like could enjoy it and look back at it and say that was well done.
Exactly.
So I mean, just kudos to WWE on the show and in general. And Styles and Orton did what it had to do, took up the time it had to, and kept the fans invested.
Yeah.
I think that's all.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm happy with how it worked.
I really thought that Orton was going to win it when he caught him on the 450 with the RKO.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a pretty creative way to get out of it. So that was a pretty cool finish.
That was true. You could basically turn any move into the RKO if you do it right.
You really can, honestly. I was really expecting that 450 into the RKO. Like when he did the 450, I was waiting. I'm like, wait, he's not popping up. He might actually connect.
Yeah. That's true. Oh, man, what a match. But now it's time to move on because there's a lot of matches.
There are a lot.
Probably
this was a jam-packed.
In this pay-per-view than there have ever been in WWE. The next match, we had the SmackDown Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Titles match. You got the Usos versus Aleister Black and Ricochet versus Rusev and Nakamura versus The Bar. And the first thing I want to talk about, Ricochet is just a god. Like the way he swerved around Cesaro or whoever, he was swinging around somebody in the middle of the ring. It was kind of like reminiscent of Rey Mysterio, but he was doing it so much more often and quickly. And I was just like, we were just looking at the move like, huh? Humans can do this?
It was wild. I don't know. Everyone, like you said, everyone in the room was freaking out when he did that. He took the Cesaro swing for.
Oh my god!
I don't even want to think about how long he was swinging for. But
oh my god! Yeah.
When he landed on his feet from that Tower of Doom spot.
Oh.
Oh yeah. And he just flips through it and just kind of stands in the corner like, oh wait, what happened?
that was tough.
He pulled off so many things there. I think I made this point when we were watching. I'll make it again. It kind of reminds me of this team of like when back in the old days when they put Ray and Edge as a tag team when they were first up, because I think these two will be a tag team for maybe a year-ish. They'll establish themselves with the main roster fans, just like Ray and Edge did, and then I think they'll go. I think Ricochet. I don't think Ricochet can be booked as a heel in WWE. He's just too good at all the flippy stuff to keep it light. And I think Black has enough of that like violent edge to him where you can maybe make him either an anti-hero or like a kick butt heel. I'm trying to limit our use of curse words on this podcast.
Honestly, I think from what I've heard, you could actually use curse words on podcasts.
Oh, then he'd be. I think Aleister Black would be an absolutely badass heel who would just kind of be like what Orton is a little bit, where he just picks someone out, says I'm going to kick you in the face really damn hard, and then just keeps doing it. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of directions they can go with those two.
Yeah. Do you think? You think at some point this tag team is just like temporary? They're going to separate them at some point.
I think so.
They'll go for singles.
I wouldn't be shocked if they do get like a month or two long reign in there.
That's true.
I wouldn't be shocked, but I do think it'll just kind of be one of those things where like it'll be like 5-10 years down the line, it'll be like that one time Aleister Black and Ricochet held the tag titles together.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Because, I mean, think about it. I feel like...
Hey, if he wants to make any of them Grand Slam champions, they start him do it with the tag titles. That's always usually the hard part for singles competitors. But yeah, so we have... Oh, we forgot to mention that the Usos won. The Usos retained their tag team titles. And when they finished it, they did a double splash on, I want to say Sheamus, but I don't remember. And they did a double splash off the top rope. and they pinned him 1, 2, 3. I didn't think that was the end of the match, but it ended up being the end of the match, and I was like, Usos retained. I wasn't really upset. I'm kind of happy they retained because they got demolished by the Bludgeon Brothers last year. I figured they needed some sort of WrestleMania moment.
Yeah, they got
They got.
Look at where the Bludgeon Brothers are now. That could be a whole another tangent of the podcast, maybe for another day. But
exactly.
I mean, Luke Harper had that one moment with Strowman in the Battle Royal.
One moment.
That literally, he just stared at him for a tiny bit.
Yep.
Before Strowman got double teamed from behind, and then I think Harper got eliminated like off to the side a little bit later.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
Just a little bit, and now Rowan is an angry vegan.
I guess at this point
they've gone
what
from
else can you do?
They've gone from murdering people with hammers to angry vegan.
Yeah,
it's how far can you fall?
Exactly.
But no, I think the Usos have gone from not even being on Mania cards to where they belong, which is winning pretty handily because they're the best tag team in the company, not named the New Day.
Yeah, I'd say so.
They're just I can't name a bad Uso match since they ditched the paint.
Yeah. No, I freaking I've loved some of the Usos matches. Like there's some, like you said, I can't think of like a bad one that, especially even in their old era back.
Actually, yeah, know what? Even in their old era, they were
pretty good.
They had a few good ones with
like I'd say they're pretty better as their heels now.
They're much better as heels now, but I mean even like they would fight, I think it was against Kid and Cesaro. They would have a few good matches.
Yeah.
That was such an underrated tag team. R.I.P. Tyson Kidd.
Poor Tyson Kidd. But yeah, no, about the Usos, I want to say one of my favorite matches from the Usos will always be the 2 out of 3 falls match against Harper and Rowan at Battleground. Like, what was it, 2014 or something like that? I just remember watching that match, and it was so godly.
I was going to say, I feel like that's one of the few, like, I remember that's kind of when I had my lapse in watching. I still remember I saw, like, a tribute video to it, and some of the stuff that looked like they pulled off was just some nonsense.
Nuts. Yeah, no, I haven't watched it in a while because, it was back in 2014, but, man, I just remember really liking that match. I watched it again. But, yeah, so let's move on from the SmackDown Tag Team titles, and let's talk about a match that I didn't think that really exceeded everybody's expectations, in my opinion. Shane McMahon versus The Miz. Falls Count Anywhere.
This was, I think everyone in the room with us was either dying or going, "Oh my god," or "Holy shit!" during the entire thing.
A noise complaint after the final move.
After the final move, after when Miz, when Miz throws him off that thing and he bounces off the one thing and then slides down
off the golf cart and just falls.
And
back
I don't think he was meant to bounce off it like he did.
I don't think so. And he landed back first to the cement off of a golf cart.
I mean, like I said, like even when for those who didn't watch, Shane McMahon, after taking one of the most devastating suplexes, I think I can't think of a suplex more devastating than that one.
That was kind of
that was absurd
because it was a suplex.
Exactly.
Like Shane McMahon jumped off some scarier things.
Oh yeah, no,
I've
seen worse bumps, but there's the suplexes that break the ring, but those are kind of like made to look worse than they are. Yeah. This was like through wooden planks, like 10 feet in the air, and even though Shane, Mr. Best in the World, won, it furthers the feud. It wouldn't have felt. Shane only just turned heel. The Miz benefits from, he looked strong here. It was just he got a little too risky. It wasn't that Shane outmaneuvered him or was better than him. It was that he was so invested in killing Shane McMahon that he killed himself in the process, and Shane's corpse was slightly more elevated than his.
Yeah.
That's all the difference was. But no, so what did you think of the match? Like,
it was absolutely crazy. Also, kudos to Miz's dad for getting in the ring and putting up those fists against Shane McMahon. He's a true trooper, man.
You know what? Kudos to him and kudos to Shane for really like
playing it well.
I was gonna say he played that so well, where it kind of like when he grabs his arms and adjusts them for him, like because let's face it, I don't know whose idea it was to get George Mizanin into this storyline, but they probably need to be examined because he doesn't. The only my main issue with him was his facial expressions after Shane McMahon beat down the Miz, and he's just kind of like sitting there like someone like is painting in front of him and he's watching it dry. It's like you just watched your son get mugged. Like, show a little concern or something.
Yeah.
But you know what? He made up for it at Mania where it mattered the most. Was a surprisingly positive part of the match. What do you think about Shane McMahon consistently having some of the better matches on the Mania cards?
Honestly, I kind of like it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, over the past few years, let's remember, he tagged with Daniel Bryan last year. That was an okay match. But then he had a match with AJ Styles in 33, which was absolutely fantastic. It opened
want to talk
the
about
show.
Breaking expectations.
That match was awesome. He had a match with The Undertaker, a Hell in a Cell match, and I know it didn't really get it got mixed receptions, but I personally really liked it.
I mean, it was a Shane McMahon Undertaker match. I didn't come in there thinking I was going to watch two ring generals. I came to see if Shane McMahon was going to commit to jumping off that cell, and he certainly did. So for
Yeah.
me, that's a 4 out of 5 star match. Because you
I'd
know
say
what?
so.
I still remember him jumping off that cell.
All you need is one iconic moment.
Exactly.
And that match is, in history.
Exactly.
So I'm happy that this match was really good. I'm happy for The Miz because The Miz is getting consistently get better spots on the Mania card.
He's doing so much better as a babyface than I thought he would too.
That is true. I feel like he displays the passion that a babyface should have, like someone who's not like too arrogant, but like he knows what he's fighting for when it comes to fighting against the heel. And I think the Miz is just one of, if not the best talkers in the company. So I'm really it's a good spot for him.
You just want to talk about the way a guy's reputation can change when they keep at it. He went from 2010. Sure, he was WWE champion, but at the same time, no one really respected him. Now he's considered one of the best workers in wrestling, let alone WWE.
Yeah.
That's just a huge leap for a guy who was considered just a reality star who accidentally made a roster.
No, yeah, exactly. He's just he's a hard worker. Like,
he
his
really
ethic,
is.
and he doesn't miss shows. He doesn't get injured. He's something else.
He goes on Talking Smack and he's like, Daniel Bryan, you wrestled such an unsafe style. Proceeds to do suplex off of.
Yeah. Oh, man. See, I wish they kept talking smack just to see what The Miz would do.
Yeah.
Because The Miz is just... I feel like if The Miz doesn't have a script in front of him, then he could be so much more. Not more than he already is. I'm not saying that The Miz isn't anything now. He's fantastic.
I feel like they're starting to give him a little more. I feel like he's...
But, at this point, he might have veteran status. Maybe
I was going to say,
he
he might...
more leeway.
Especially with how good he is on the mic, I feel like he... Definitely, if he still gets scripts, it's definitely just loose bullets and not what Roman Reigns would... I think Roman Reigns might have even started to lose the script a bit. Doesn't have to say suffer and succotash anymore, but...
Oh, man.
Those were the bad days. Those were the dark times.
Dark times of wrestling promos. But so, guys, if you guys have the WWE Network, please watch The Miz versus Shane McMahon, the Falls Count Anywhere match. It blew our expectations away. It was only a 15.5-minute match, but there was a lot packed in that. So I'm happy. You're happy. We were all happy when we were watching it. So let's just move on. Let's move on to, on that note, let's move on to the women's tag team fatal 4-way match. Probably one of the more interesting swerves of the night. You have the Iconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, versus the Boston Hug Connection, which is Bayley and Sasha, who were the champions at the time. And they faced off against Nia Jax and Tamina and Beth Phoenix and Natalya, all those teams in a Fatal 4-Way match. Beth Phoenix came out of retirement to tag team with Natalya. And I don't remember if you watched
I was going to say, now I will acknowledge this was my bathroom break match.
Yeah.
I came into this with zero expectations. But honestly,
you weren't there. I texted you a result. I was like,
yep,
let's go.
You were so hyped. Honestly, I've seen the highlights. Beth Phoenix looked a lot better than I thought she would.
She was pretty good.
That glam slam from the top rope to end it was wild.
It was kind of wild.
I think I picked still the right match for my bathroom break match, but it was still it looked like a fun time.
It was a good match.
Everything I heard about it was a lot better than I ever would have given it credit for.
No, exactly. I think it really did work well. The ending was fantastic. You had Billie Kay tag herself into Beth Phoenix from the top rope just before Beth Phoenix hit the Glam Slam. And right as she hit it, Peyton Royce comes in, throws Beth Phoenix out of the ring, and Billie Kay goes right for the cover. So, Bayley doesn't get any time to rest before the pin, and she gets pinned 1, 2, 3. And immediately Billie Kay starts crying of, tears of joy. And, I got really emotional. I almost cried myself when they won.
No, I mean,
not gonna lie, it was an emotional moment for these two young ladies who have been together for 15 years, getting this spot at WrestleMania, winning the tag titles, superseding everybody's expectations.
No, they've put so much work in between their time in NXT. They've been really upbeat. You can tell they're not, with the Revival and teams like that who are being underutilized, you can kind of get that kind of vibe that they don't want to be there. The Iconics have put on a smile through everything. They deserve to be rewarded with this moment. Everyone knows about Bayley and Sasha. Everyone knows who Natalya and Beth Phoenix were. And unfortunately, we all know who Nia Jax and Tamina are. So, look, it was the right call. Unless you were going to have the 4 horsewoman moment at the end of the show, you weren't going to keep the titles on the Boss and Hug connection. A little weird they didn't do a heel turn, but I think that could maybe come if they fail to recapture the titles.
Yeah, something like that. I was really expecting either one of them to kind of turn on each other, because that whole storyline is just kind of like a gray area, because of maybe they turned, maybe they didn't. They're back together. It's just weird.
They really kind of bungled that whole feud, because so many people wanted to see that Bayley Sasha match. Like, even I wanted to see the Bayley Sasha match, and now I could care less. You could tell me that's happening tomorrow, and it would mean nothing.
That's fine.
And they haven't had enough time on Raw to solidify their friendship again, where when one turns on the other, I'm not going to be all that invested in it. I'll still follow it because they're both great in the ring when Sasha's not either hurting or getting hurt by someone, but
yeah. No, it's also at the same time, I kind of feel bad for them, because these are two women who have gone from main eventing NXT TakeOver Brooklyn with the match of the year, the Iron Woman match, to this, Honestly. They had the titles, but it's that really didn't do much for their careers, because then again, these titles aren't really that important. Despite the Iconics winning them, I'm super happy for them, but it's just the WWE haven't really done anything with the titles.
This was one of the first times they were really defended. This was honestly probably... I think it was everyone's bathroom break match, because no one's really invested in these titles. It's going to take a team to make them, and hopefully the Iconics can have one of those really fun, long heel reigns.
Yeah. Hold
on to them for a good bit. Maybe they'll call someone up from NXT that we don't know about.
No, that's exactly what I was going to bring up, because Paige on this episode of SmackDown said that she was bringing a new women's tag team to SmackDown in the next week.
Who do we think it'll be?
I have absolutely no idea.
Because my high-key thought it, and maybe this is just me being a little they might be hot-shotting the UFC girls up.
Oh, you mean straight from the PC?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because I think they might be trying to get them established in time, and if they work them in tag teams only, and then bring up Baszler, and kind of form a faction that Ronda could maybe join into.
Yeah.
I don't know. They could do something like that down the line. I don't really know any other NXT women's tag teams at the moment.
One tag team that I don't want to see created is Kairi Sane and Io Shirai. I think they both should stick as singles competitors. You know how badly they've done Shinsuke Nakamura as a tag team by putting him in a tag team. And Asuka by just
they almost put her in that tag team with Naomi.
Oh, that would have been really sad. So I just don't want to see that happen to more Asian fighters
honestly,
Kairi Sane and Io Shirai.
It's not that hard to get them over. I was a huge Shinsuke guy in NXT, and it didn't matter that I couldn't understand a word he was saying. He was just really cool and could kick people really hard.
Yeah.
Asuka, didn't matter that all she could say is, they're not ready for Asuka. That's all she needed to say. I just needed her once again to kick people really hard and then choke them. Yeah. That's all I needed, and she could be champion forever.
And they're not really doing that.
They really aren't.
Sad. But we'll talk about the whole fate of I guess the championship belts in general, and
Yeah.
make these people, further down the line and maybe in subsequent episodes. But once again, congrats to the Iconics for.
And I'm glad you brought up
titles.
the Oshirai and Kairi Sane thing, because I was going to go there too. Because
Yeah.
honestly, I think if we're both thinking it, so might WWE.
That's not good. But anyways, next up, the 10th match on the card. Did not expect this match to be this early, but Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship was nowhere near the main event, but I don't think it needed to be.
It didn't need to be, but oh my god, if it had been.
Can you imagine?
This match is why we love wrestling. Mm-hmm. It told an unbelievable story. Both guys hit every beat in the ring.
They're just so good.
They're just both so freaking good.
Yeah.
When they played off Eric Rowan and the New Day perfectly.
I know. Yeah. I'm just.
They had so many good callbacks when they had Xavier's like he deserves worse when he's about to do the face stomps that Daniel Bryan likes to do. Kofi was about to do it to him. He's not sure if he wants to, and Xavier's like, you got to do it. He does it. It was almost. I wasn't actually. Because he does like the taunt to get him up and then connects with the Trouble in Paradise to end it. It kind of like caught me off guard.
I don't remember that part because I wasn't paying attention at the time. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I wasn't paying attention at the time. I was just kind of sitting there, and then I all of a sudden start hearing 1, 2, and I'm like, okay, what's happening? And then 3 counts. I'm like, wait, what just happened?
Yep.
I missed the move entirely.
The best way I could describe it is for those of you who have played the WWE 2K games, it's like Kofi did the charged finisher thing, and Daniel Bryan just refused to reverse it. Mm-hmm. That's the best way I can describe it, because he just kind of like staggers to his feet. Kofi's waiting for him. The New Day is leading the chant.
Yeah.
And it all just worked, and it was just such a moment. And I mean, we can both. The whole room erupted.
It was crazy.
So what were your? You said you weren't paying attention to the finish, which it was. I guess it was kind of unexpected. But
yeah,
what were your just thoughts on the match in general?
The match was really good. They those two put on a clinic together. They're just they're basically acrobats in the ring or something. They're going off the walls. I just thought the smoothness. I can't speak. The smoothness of the match was beautiful, and they really put together a match that really curved at our emotions. It was it was a storytelling type match, or one that told a story. I'm really messing up my words, guys, but don't worry about it. But overall, I really enjoyed the match, and the finish made it so much sweeter. Just because no swerves, no heel turns. It was just full on emotion from all 3 members of the New Days. Kofi's kids came out to the ring to help him. They brought out a brand new championship belt, and it was such a touching, beautiful moment in just the wrestling world.
I was really quickly trying to look up to see if Meltzer had given any star ratings to.
Gives it 3.5 stars.
It was derivative of New Japan, 2 stars.
Yeah.
Okada Omega did it so much better.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So he hasn't given his WrestleMania stars yet.
Not yet, boys.
What would you, if you have to give one to however, if you're Dave Meltzer, what are you giving this match?
I would probably give it 4 stars for the match plus an extra 2 stars for the celebration at the end. So
I was gonna say, I think for me, I'd give it 5.5, 6. It was just such a good match. I think either me or you said it during the thing. I said it kind of reminded me of Brett and Mr. Perfect, or those kind of just storytelling clinics, reversal after reversal. And none of it was botched, and even the one Kofi went for the double stomp and it was sort of botched.
Oh yeah,
but still worked as a
exactly.
Exactly. So it still worked. Everything just fit the story so well. Mm-hmm. For me, it's 5 to 5. It's 5 stars and up. For me, 5.5 is a solid number.
Oh yeah,
it's one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, I might have underrated that match. It's probably at least.
Well, no, because you said 4. Plus the 2 for the celebration, so I'd say you basically gave it 5 stars.
Yeah, that's true. It was basic. On average, it's a 5-star match. It was really good. It was fantastic, and like you said, little to no botches. Unlike the main event, we'll be talking about later.
Unlike the main event.
One more thing that I want to bring up about this match is that it's kind of sad that, at least I've heard on the internet in some sorts, that WWE kind of spoiled the winner of the match. That they were started selling the T-shirt on the shop.
So they did, but then other people have made the point. should you really be on the WWE shop during mid WrestleMania?
That is true. If you really think about it.
So like, yeah, I think it was a bonehead move on WWE's part. I mean, I don't know why you can't just hold off like an extra 10 seconds. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
But you know what? Also, shame on the fans who were on the shop rather than watching the show as it was happening.
Match, yeah. And also, I think people were saying like the people who were there kind of might have been able to figure it out too, because WWE had the whole the table with the new championship belt there covered in a blanket, and then they just put Daniel Bryan's championship over it, but like they already had the new championship belt out there. So I think some people that were there that were aware might have already seen that belt or seen the belt shape that was under the covers and might have already figured out that Kofi was winning that match. So that might have been another way WWE might have spoiled that match, but I digress. Us viewers at home didn't notice.
We didn't notice, because I mean, honestly, at least for me in my head, I was like, well, yeah, they're gonna have the second belt out just in case, because if Kofi wins, he's not gonna wear the belt.
Yeah, I was like, it would be so sad for Kofi to win his first WWE title, and then like all the video replays and packages just have him showing this weird cardboard, stupid organic title instead of the real deal.
So I mean, at least for me, I tried not. I mean, everyone knew Kofi was. This was Kofi's shot, and they weren't going to ruin a feel, or at least maybe this is just what I kept telling myself. They're not going to ruin a feel-good moment like this, just for a cool swerve.
Yeah,
I thought maybe they do it in the main event.
You're right. So all right, that Kofi Kingston and Ryan, fantastic match. I'm excited to see what the future brings for both of them.
How about that? I know you weren't watching, but they almost had that title unification match.
Oh yeah, Raw. I was actually thinking about that as well. So guys, for those of you who didn't see Raw, Monday Night Raw, they decided to have the winner take all match for both the WWE Universal and the WWE Championship to kind of unify the championships, kind of like they did with the women's main event at WrestleMania, which we'll get to later. But that match didn't happen, or it was stopped halfway through in favor of a tag team match. And man, guys, you should have heard the boos from that crowd.
We got AEW chants, CM Punk chants, all the classics.
Because it's like you can't promise a crowd that match and
you really
not
can't
give it.
And here's the thing, they started it too, like
that's the worst part.
They put the spoon in their mouths, and then before they could chew, they ripped it out, and they said, "You liked how that tasted, right? You're not getting it.
Oh.
You're getting the bar.
That's
you're getting
bad.
Sheamus."
But regardless, that's happening eventually.
It is.
So, because WWE's going back through that route.
You've got to imagine they want to make that's a money-making match. You're going to sell a lot of shows if you have that as your match.
Oh yeah.
It's not going to be I get it. You're in the live crowd. It was unfair of them, but you're not going to get that match free.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's just my humble opinion. I agree completely with you. But so that was basically
interesting.
That was an interesting part of Monday Night Raw, guys. But back to WrestleMania. So after the Kofi Kingston match, the next match was Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio, which was just a 1-minute squash for the U.S. title because Rey Mysterio was hurt. So really nothing to talk about that match unless you have anything to say.
I was going to say, I think they handled it the right way.
I think they did too.
There were two ways. Joe had to win, especially with Rey hurt. You can't just have him squash him with a Flash 619. I want to talk about killing Joe where he stands.
Oh yeah, that would be kind of sad.
And it works out well, keeps the feud alive, lets Rey recover. And I thought it would have been kind of funny if they had Dominic come out. Samoa Joe puts him in the coquina clutch.
But I'm actually glad they're doing something with the U.S. title, kind of making it something, or having at least a solid champion to hold it or something.
I just really hope Joe wins a bigger title before his WB time is over.
I hope so too. Like he's been here for 3 years at least, not in NXT. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Joe, but overall, glad to see him retain against Rey Mysterio. I hope Rey Mysterio does get better and gets back to 100% back.
I think he should. I'm glad he was able to at least show up.
That's true. Yeah, it was a good moment. But 1 minute match from Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio, and I think now is a good time before we talk about Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre to talk about a little moment that happened with Elias at WrestleMania.
I couldn't fight the smile. We were all so confused. So all right, well,
okay, wait. First, Pedro, talk about what happened.
So first, I mean, I think you point. It was just a really cool effect that they had. They had Elias play with two pre-recorded but simultaneous versions of himself playing different instruments.
Yeah.
And it was actually pretty good.
I thought that was so cool.
And they timed it so well. Like
the thing is, I feel like, sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
Like, I feel like to be in Elias's shoes, to have to like memorize exactly which words to say so like the other recorded Eliases could respond in something that made sense, that must have been a lot of pressure, and he was able to deliver that perfectly. As someone who, you know, aspires to be in like a special effects field or something like that was just marvelous. It
was seamless. He timed everything perfectly. He had to get the performance done on beat with them. Mm-hmm. It was very, very cool. And then all of a sudden it just cuts to the Yankees, and it's
baseball montage,
and it's Babe Ruth, and he's calling a shot, and
I was so confused.
The whole thing. No one had a clue what was happening. We were trying to think what NXT guy was being called up. Was there a broadcast malfunction? And then all of a sudden, you just hear. Yep.
I can play it on my phone. I have
actually.
The song.
Oh yeah, you got. So Elias is in the ring. He's looking a little stunned. He's pretty confused why he's just watched Babe Ruth calling a shot. The crowd's in silence, and all of a sudden, 3, 2, 1. You just hear.
Hang on.
Oh.
No. No. Okay, ready? You hear?
Yep. You hear 3, 2, 1.
God dang it.
We're having volume-related difficulties right now.
I got you. Okay, this is the one. You hear?
I hope we hear. There we go. You hear John Cena's old Doctor of Thugonomics entrance music, and out in full John Cena attire. He's just the greatest, isn't he?
It's so good. I'm gonna stop it right there.
Of course.
Holy cow!
He is just the greatest wrestler.
That was so. I was screaming. I was like, "Yo, rapper John Cena showing up in a Yankee
I called my mom.
Yeah.
I literally called my mom because she had to know what was happening.
Oh my god, that was moment. Guys, I've watched that video, rewatched it on YouTube so many times.
His bars.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
What was this one that he craps on his own movie? He's like,
I don't remember. I remember there. I know there was the one where like he said, you know, Elias is you know, can only play with himself or something like that. I don't remember what exactly he said. He talked about I don't remember. He kind of swerved us a bit by saying he was doing this whole heel turn.
He's like
heel turn related. And then
he hit all the when he, and that was like one of the first things he said too. Yeah. He's like, and I'm about to go heel, and it was just like, oh
my god,
well, John.
I don't remember what he said. But
you can go back and watch it once again. WWE Network, $9.99. Feel free to go in. So worth it. But he was spitting the bars.
That like made the night in my opinion.
Elias had a heck of a 2 days.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to.
I was like, huh? Yeah, that's right, guys. The Undertaker showed up on Monday Night Raw,
and he looked good.
Yeah. You could tell he's old by the face and like the you know, his hair was getting thinner.
Yeah, but that was like
spaghetti hair.
But that was like the closest he's come to not dropping someone in the tombstone in a while. Still had to readjust him a tiny bit, but you know what? The fact that Elias isn't that small. He's a decently sized human. Mm-hmm. Like I think he put him in like a U.S. title feud with Rey Mysterio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Let him chokeslam Rey around.
So, you know, as much as I love to talk about John Cena, that was a fantastic moment. The Undertaker, man, I just got to ask you, for someone who's well known for being like the guy that appears at WrestleMania and has like the most grandiose entrances, wins 24 out of 26 matches, the fact that he shows up the night after WrestleMania instead as a nice little touch, a nice little addition, swerve, whatever you want to call it. How did you feel about that?
I was really confused, a little concerned. It didn't make a ton of sense because if he's there for Raw, I don't know why you don't throw him out there for Mania. But at the same time, I kind of do because you don't want to cheapen his Mania appearances. If he doesn't have a match, don't just roll him out there to roll him out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just saying, I think it's a nice treat for the Raw after Mania is supposed to be a special night.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had one little ace in the hole to make it a special night. I mean, yeah, those fans didn't get Kofi Rollins, and that stinks, but they got the fucking Undertaker.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, you got the Undertaker. WrestleMania didn't get the Undertaker. You guys got that. I get it. It stinks not to have, like, this awesome main event, but you guys got what could realistically be considered one of probably like the last 3 or 5 Undertaker appearances. That's a special audience to be a part of.
Oh yeah, for sure. And by one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, the greatest gimmick by far in the world.
Greatest gimmick.
Undertaker
I do think he doesn't get enough credit as a pure wrestler. The guy's 7 feet, and I mean,
he's still moving.
it's kind of like I'll bring I don't want to say real sports, but I'll bring like basketball into it. It's kind of like He was a pioneer of what you do at that position.
Mm-hmm.
Dirk Nowitzki was the first 7-footer to shoot threes, kind of like Undertaker was one of the first 7-footers to, run the ropes and be an athletic guy who could do dives and things like that. He was a pioneer.
Yeah.
Sure, he doesn't quite do it like some of the guys today do, but he was the first to do it. There's something special about that.
Exactly. So you guys got to give massive respect to The Undertaker. The fact that he showed up on the Raw after Mania has to prove that he's not done yet, or WWE's not done with him.
I think they're gonna do Michael's Taker.
Ooh, wait, really? You think they'll bring it back?
I think because they were both not in good, or at least Taker certainly wasn't in good enough shape.
Ooh, yeah, during the Saudi Arabia.
The only
Jewel.
So it was kind of weird because I listened to Michaels did a podcast with someone.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Sam Roberts, and he was talking about how he hates to do. It was before he did the Saudi Arabia show. Or it might have been like right as he was doing it. He was just talking about how much he hates coming back for one and dones. Mm-hmm. Like for him, if he was ever going to come back, he'd want to do it full time.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they offered Michael's Taker again, and Taker was actually in decent shape, I could just with how many rumors there were about it, I could see him maybe doing it.
Yeah.
I also would love to. I mean, Elias Taker would be fine. I just want to see Taker have one last good Mania match.
Exactly. No, yeah. I mean, I love the squash match against Cena last year's Mania, but yeah, no, having Taker back again for just one more Mania match, see what happens. I don't know how they want to send him off well. We'll see what happens, I guess, because next year's Mania is in Tampa Bay. That doesn't really relate to
have him kayfabe retire when his brother uses his power as mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, to lock him up for life.
Oh my gosh.
The Undertaker has been arrested by the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, Glenn Jacobs.
Yep.
On the account of burning down a house with a child inside and both their parents. Because kayfabe, that's technically true.
Hey, you could say that. You can say that for sure. But yeah, no, that was a really good Raw moment.
It was.
Mania. Absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait to see what they do with The Undertaker. Because it's always a mystery. I wonder, is it going to be, will we see him next Monday? It'll be interesting. Yeah, that's also a possibility. But yeah, no, I'm definitely excited. As much as I want to keep talking about The Undertaker, in the interest of time, I just want to get through the rest of the matches.
Yeah, no, of course.
So, this match didn't really do anything for me. Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre. I mean, kudos to Roman Reigns. He's back. He's back after cancer. The guy's a freaking legend, man. He beat cancer. So I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, no,
more than anything. But match just didn't do anything for me. It was just it was a not lower mid card, but higher mid card match, closer to the main event. And nothing was really at stake, but it was just probably another one of those feel-good matches, even though it was at the expense of Drew McIntyre.
I think it could have done with 5 or 10 more minutes. It felt a little rushed. Seeing McIntyre go down after only one spear was kind of jarring.
Yeah.
But, I mean, maybe this could have been my bathroom break match. It wasn't terrible by any stretch, and the right guy won. It would have been kind of like an interesting move to give Drew the win, but I think Roman had to win his first match back. It was a good call. Mm-hmm. He looked strong. Drew kind of seems like he's a little bit in limbo. He was in this 3-man or 6-man tag match on SmackDown. That was a little weird.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, we have the Superstar shakeup coming soon, so everything will kind of go back to normal when that happens.
Oh,
but
yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. That'll be definitely interesting to find out more about, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, see what happens between those two. Maybe if they get put on separate brands or see what happens. And so we're just gonna move on to Triple H versus Batista. The longest match of the night with a solid 24 minutes and 45 seconds. Not a single match on the card went over 25 minutes. I know, we're breaking things up, but like, do you think there was just way too many matches on the card this year?
Yeah, I think you could have kicked quite a few of these matches, to be honest. Like, I get everyone wants to get on, that's pretty cool, but just because you have 5 hours to run a show doesn't necessarily mean you have to have every single thing happen. Hold a little bit off. Like, I'm trying to think what could have been cut for time. Honestly,
you could have cut Joe Mysterio, probably.
You could have maybe added Styles and Orton into the U.S. title picture somehow and merged that all into like some big fatal 4-way. I feel like a few, like, that's why you have, because how many multi-man matches were there on this card?
Multi-man?
Outside of the triple threat for the women's title, I don't think there were any.
There were all singles matches.
Or tag.
Besides the fatal 4-way tag matches.
So,
so not a single triple threat
I think
that's the main event.
I think that's why you have those multi-man matches, so you can get everyone on the card without having this many matches. So I
was really confused why they didn't have like another 6-7 man ladder match for the IC title.
That would have been
a fatal 4-way for or 6-pack challenge for the US title or something like that,
Because I think, like I said, Drew and Roman could really have used a little bit more time. A title, like, have them be the dominant storyline in that IC title feud.
Maybe, you know what they should do? They should have like elimination matches. You know, like fatal 4-way elimination.
Have like
person gets pinned. So once you're down to the final two, maybe it being Roman and Drew, and have them go on a nice little.
So throw out 2 other decently big superstars on Raw for me. Just like 2
decently big that
Mania? Like that who had something to do, but like who you could see challenging Rollins for the Universal title. So you got Rollins, McIntyre. Or so you got McIntyre, Roman.
Let's see.
Who else on Raw? Like, is there anyone? Is this an issue? Just Raw?
Strowman. Kind of.
You could have had that whole Strowman storyline was kind of a waste.
Weird. Yeah.
I had no investment in it really.
Poor Strowman.
Honestly,
absolutely poor Strowman.
I think you could have. Honestly, you could scrap the Battle Royal.
Both of them.
Fit a little bit more on the pre-show. And I get it. The Battle Royal is the best way to get talent on the show who wants to be on there and keep morale high.
Yeah.
But either shorten it or don't put guys like Strowman, Roman, and McIntyre should have been having a number 1 contender match to see who gets to face Rollins or Lesnar. That's just, I think they should have had something at stake there. Would have made everyone more invested in it. I think that would have been a cool little thing they could have done. But back to Triple H and Batista, because we only have so much time to talk about this. Yeah. It was a bit. We had a little botch counter going, I think, for Batista. It was definitely
not. When the match started, Batista had won.
Yep. Batista struggled to even get into the ring. It was a wacky match. I had fun with it for what it was.
It was pretty good. Yeah, no, I didn't even take it seriously.
I was going to say, I just did not take it seriously. Triple H at one point was sitting on Batista and ripped out his nose ring.
Yep.
He took pliers and put Batista's thumb in them and stepped on.
That part.
They were going brutal. The finish was Ric Flair came ringside, gave Triple H a sledgehammer. He Superman punched Batista with the sledgehammer off of the steel steps into the pedigree. If you want to just have a nonsensical fun time and remember what the mid-2000s were like, watch this match. It was a pretty fun time.
Aggression era for you right then and
honestly.
There. Triple H coming out and just this super Mad Max.
What'd you think of the Titantron for that one?
The Titantron, I liked it. Oh, you mean for the whole show?
I just meant for the Mad Max one.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought it was like so very clear. It looked like a video game promo.
Mm-hmm.
That was my
yeah, I could see that.
Like I was expecting like, purchase your new Triple H DLC and the Mad Max 2 with your pre-order. Thanks to Mad Max 2 for sponsoring WrestleMania 30. Like that's what I was prepping myself for.
Yeah.
We didn't get that thankfully, but I liked his new bike there. Not even bike.
He's got
car
like trike or whatever.
Yeah, I loved that thing. I thought it was cool.
Yeah,
I even
Triple H always has like wacky entrances, and it's pretty cool.
It's some wild nonsense, but that is the game we know and love.
Exactly. So that was a pretty solid match. I can't lie.
Batista's retired. Thank you, Batista.
Yeah, thank you, Batista, for everything you've done.
For the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Someone else that left the company Monday Night Raw, just Dean Ambrose. Just 'cause I didn't know where to segue from that. So,
I was gonna say what was it? Well, what's the next match on the card?
Well, the next match was Corbin Kurt.
Because I was gonna say someone else who left Raw for good.
Yeah, you're
Kurt
right.
Angle.
Well, I mean, do we know though?
That's true. That's true. So I mean,
guys, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's
so hard.
So Dean Ambrose maybe at least. I mean, I don't know if you've heard. They interviewed Roman Reigns about him potentially leaving, and from what Roman said, I could almost see him doing like a 3 or 4 year stint in AEW and then coming back to WWE. Like Dean Ambrose is kind of starting to remind me more of a Jericho or a Christian, where they'll leave for a bit.
They'll just jump between promotions.
Yeah,
you know?
like he'll get what he wants to get done and maybe reestablish himself, come back to WWE with a bit more clout, a bit more name recognition. Reform the Shield maybe, or maybe like it'll be against a heel. I don't know. I think we'll see Dean again, but I do think he'll be leaving for now. Someone who at least was supposed to be leaving for good, as we did, was Kurt Angle. He had his final match against Baron Corbin of all people.
The thing is with this match is that it didn't matter what the result was. Kurt was leaving anyway. So the fact that they put Corbin over Kurt Angle at his last match at WrestleMania, I mean, I kind of gotten over it by now. It's been a few days, but like initially I was like, are you absolutely serious? Like what?
It was kind of weird, and they took Corbin's heat a little bit away from him too by having Angle just kind of get it back on Raw with the sneak attack. So I mean, I don't know. I get it. I think it's kind of like leave on your Shield. But now, as you said, we don't know if he's gone for good though.
That's what I'm saying. Like you never know.
Your boy Lars Sullivan, great to see him, actually show up. It sucked to hear that he was going through those mental health issues and those anxiety issues. So it's good to see, he looked pretty good. I mean, he had all his notes, good facial. I mean, he was doing everything the right way.
Yep.
Glad to see he's over those anxieties. He attacked the Hardys on SmackDown. So, I mean, he's getting a decent push. It'll be exciting to see where he goes.
I'd say so.
Hopefully they don't Strowman him, where...
Oh, my gosh.
I hate that that's a thing.
I
was about to say, I hate that that's a thing now. 'Cause Strowman was supposed to be Universal Champion at this point.
No, he was supposed to be Universal Champion like 2 years ago.
Yeah. And
maybe not 2 years
and now he's just kind of a really tall, imposing joke.
He's more like the Big Show now.
That's a really sad and accurate comparison.
Yeah. It's kind of... You hate to see that coming from him.
You do.
But, yeah... We'll maybe talk about that more in subsequent shows.
I
Maybe
agree.
get into more in-depth analysis on some superstars' cases. But for we're doing WrestleMania post recap here. Second to last match, the penultimate match of the night, a match that I did not think would be this late in the card, but was Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental Championship.
I mean, they did.
Need I say, Finn Balor came out as the Demon. So
I mean, yeah, dude. We're really starting to enter like what is logic territory, because I mean, Finn never loses as the Demon, and he only ever fights subpar opponents as the Demon.
Yeah,
like the best guy he ever fought as the Demon was maybe AJ, and he beat AJ. Fought Brock Lesnar a couple times, chose not to be the Demon then.
Yeah,
I mean, he won his only Universal title as the Demon.
You're right, yeah. When he beat Seth Rollins.
Yep.
I don't know
so
when or if he'll ever get back to that status.
Well, I mean, he fought Lesnar for that same title. Don't know why you don't come out as the Demon, try and hit...
Exactly.
Like, as the Demon's apparently strong enough to powerbomb Bobby Lashley, and he's about the same size as Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a fun match, though. It was cool to see him pull out stuff like the powerbomb.
Very nice, a quick match against Lashley. Which, Lashley's still doing pretty good in the company. I think he's making a name for himself, IC champ and everything. But
I'm just waiting for him to do something unspeakable to Lio Rush.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought they were already like broken up, or
and then they just kind of like
they walked
ignored
out
it.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, fine, have it your way.
Yeah, I guess we're just keeping it going.
Yeah. But that was another thing on this WrestleMania was that there were no face or heel turns at all, like barring the potential John Cena one. Like
I
that
still
probably
think,
isn't.
I think it's because it's like
It was more just like a line than anything.
because I think like a lot of the times in like battle raps, it's like, oh, I'm about to go evil, or like, oh, I'm about to kill this. It's like I think he was just kind of going like, I'm about to go heel, just because it's a really cool bar, and the whole crowd was like, oh, let's go.
Yeah. But speaking back, there was not a single heel turn or face turn at the card when there really could have been in some spots. Bailey Sasha, again, Bobby
Arguably
Lashley,
should have been.
Leo Rush. One of those two could have turned on each other. And just, some other things that, I'm looking at it right now. There's probably not anything else that they could have done besides those. Those are probably the two most prominent.
Well, if they'd really wanted to ruin everyone's days and had Big E.
Oh, yeah, that would have been quite sad. But that would have been really sad. But I feel like Kofi Kingston needed his emotional Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 moment.
You know what I could have seen? Both Big E and Xavier both Kofi and Xavier get on Big E's shoulders.
Oh,
he's holding
Evolution.
And except he's got both of them, and he just he thumbs down Kofi's kids. He's just like, I'm sorry, Kofi's kids.
That would be something else. All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes or so. I think that's enough time to go
to
this main event. The first ever women's main event in WrestleMania history, or the first ever WrestleMania that is main evented by women, where the women were the last match of the card. Just in case you guys didn't understand before, we had Becky Lynch versus SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair versus Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey. Now you had Ronda Rousey come out as, with Joan Jett playing her theme song and stuff like that. Ronda Rousey coming
She
down.
does not still have it, by the way.
Not really, unfortunately. I prefer, the MP3.
The
standard file.
It was a good shot, WWE. Swing and a miss.
Yep. Both. In between Ronda Rousey's entrance was Charlotte entrance part 1 and Charlotte entrance part 2.
That's a good way of describing it.
Charlotte's just riding on the helicopter. I think WWE kept that shot on for about a minute and a half. Charlotte just sitting in the plane, holding her title, in the helicopter, holding her title, and just kind of looking like with a kind of confident look in her eye or something like that.
I feel like, at least for me, it would have been more impactful if they just kind of done kind of like what they used to do with Evolution, which is just the helicopter lands and you don't know who's inside of it.
Yeah. It's like, imagine if the helicopter went over the stadium into the above the ring.
That would have been absurd.
And then the rope ladder came down and Charlotte climbs down that.
I think they have a few.
I don't think they could do that anymore.
I was gonna say, I think they have a little bit of PTSD from those kind of entrances.
Not do that, guys.
You would have seen a lot of harnesses on her.
Oh yeah.
She would have just been.
Oh.
We would have spent like an hour watching her undo all the harnesses.
Okay, never mind. I'm sorry I brought that one up, guys. That's a rough one. Anyways, but they should have done something to not break up Charlotte's entrance. Have Ronda Rousey break. You know what I meant. Have Ronda Rousey break up Charlotte's entrance.
I agree. I agree.
And then Becky Lynch just came out to her, standard theme song, and it all was well
and
done.
Her attire was pretty fire. Pun fully intended.
Attire fire. Couldn't have said it any better, Petry. That was really good. But enough with the entrances. Let's get to the match itself.
So, do we want to do a little pros and cons real quick?
Yeah, pros and cons. All right, Petry, what's a pro?
So a pro, for the most part, it was a hard-hitting match.
Oh, yeah.
It was good for the first women's main event of all time to kind of the style of it. It was a wrestling match. It wasn't a Divas match. It wasn't a women's match. It was just a match.
Yeah.
It was Ronda Rousey took the full Brock Lesnar, I'm going to throw and punch anything I can get my hands on. Mm-hmm. Charlotte was kind of like the Triple H, I'm going to out-wrestle both of you, out-power both of you. And Becky was Becky, and that's all she ever needs to be honest.
Yeah.
There were great stretches of the match. First con right off the bat, we literally said, as long as they just break the table. And they didn't break the table.
That one hurt so badly to see, guys.
We literally
if you guys
called
don't
it.
know, they stood up a table against the ropes, slanted, which I don't get why they do. It's a dangerous move in my opinion.
Is.
But the problem with women in tables is that women are too light to break through.
Exactly.
The tables.
It's not a
Sasha Banks is very well known for not
Yeah, I was
breaking
gonna
the
say,
tables.
Sasha Banks is the worst person to try and do a table spot with,
Yes.
unless it's like a dive through. Because I remember Charlotte just tried to throw her onto that thing, and she bounced off of it like a ping pong table.
Although, honestly, I don't know what WWE's been doing to the tables, because there was one spot where Triple H back body slammed Batista onto an announce table, and that didn't even break.
Yeah, it took that massive spear.
So maybe they buffed up their tables, but
They might have.
Surely hope they didn't, because the women weren't even able to break through it.
They weren't even. Those were still the flimsy ones. At least Triple H was trying to go through that announce table, and maybe you could argue because it's Mania, it had more monitor equipment, it was just a little thicker.
Mm-hmm.
This was just one of their little flimsy kitchen table, like dinner tables.
Yeah.
And it sort of buckled a little in the bottom.
Yeah, but no full cracks or anything like that.
Yeah. Another con, unfortunately. Ronda broke her hand.
And that's not good.
Maybe you could argue that is part of the reason we were talking about why the finish might have been a little. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about that finish at all?
Well, I mean, I would talk about the finish, but one more con I want to talk about is Charlotte may or may not have hit that natural selection.
That's fair.
A dual natural selection.
Another con.
Becky and Ronda.
Charlotte demolished the air next to both of their heads.
And Becky and Ronda were like, "Oh, we're not getting touched. Quick, face plant."
I think what it was is they heard her go for it, and then all of a sudden she just landed back first in front of them, and they realized the move had been completed, and just whoosh,
dude. Oh man, ultimate baller move would have just both of them just stood up and like just absolutely kicked Charlotte. And like, "Hi, you didn't hit us," but then they would have just lost tempo of the match, and they would have not known what to do next.
Yeah, that would have thrown everything off. So I get it. You gotta sell what you gotta sell, but it's kind of rough to have that botch from Charlotte too. She's the one you really need not to be botching in the Mania main event.
That may have been one of the parts where her elbow might have been cut open.
That's true.
Open too, pretty severely.
I mean, they were wailing on each other.
Oh yeah, that was rough. Ronda was punching hard. Charlotte is quite powerful. Charlotte lifted, I think, them both up at one point.
Yep.
And,
I mean, she's like I said, obviously, Ronda's a stronger striker and like pound for pound stronger, but Charlotte's an athletic and large woman. And I don't say that in the derogatory. I mean, she's just like tall and strong. Huge. She's going to kick you in the face and throw you a lot.
Oh yeah, precisely. Now, okay.
No, I was just gonna say with skill. I was just gonna say with lots of skill.
Lots of skill. She's very talented. She's a very talented wrestler.
But maybe not as talented as who I think you may be talking.
Becky Lynch. I am quite ecstatic with the way that finished. With the results of the match. Becky Lynch came out on top, and Petry, I don't remember what I was doing when Becky Lynch won.
I just remember all of a sudden your jaw just kind of dropped. You let your arms out like you were praying to something or like accepting a gift.
I was quite ecstatic that, this one person who I've been following, for about 4 years now, since her NXT days.
Since well before it was cool.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, let's go, Becky. I was like, little did I know that she would main event WrestleMania with Charlotte and Ronda. Charlotte, well-deserved. Ronda, it's only been 1 year since her debut. I don't know if she deserved it, but well-deserved by all three of them, I guess you can say.
I was gonna say, you could argue that because of what Ronda did in the women's sport, like, she earned it outside.
Becky wins it. Yeah, you were definitely right. Ronda is if anything, like the face of women's sports. Yeah. And the reason that women's sports is like where it is today.
Her and Serena Williams, I'd say.
UFC. Yeah, exactly. So nothing to go off Ronda. I'm just her WWE career not really as impressive. But
it weirdly peaked in her debut.
Yeah, weirdly, if you really think about it. But going back to Becky Lynch in the finish, I was just super happy. I was a little bit confused of what happened. But nonetheless, I was happy with the result. She was holding both titles in the end, and that's all I needed. Petry, what actually did happen for Becky to win?
Well, I was going to say, you might have been confused because, as anyone with a working set of eyeballs could tell, Ronda's shoulders were certainly not down for a 3 count there. Mm-hmm. They were, in fact, only down for a 1 count.
Yeah, no, they were up when it was 1.
Yeah.
And then they went down for 2-3.
Exactly.
I was so confused.
So that was a little, the ref honestly probably should have just restarted the count.
So it's like, yeah. We were confused. It was like, all right, so Ronda just
her Samoan.
Ronda was lifting up Becky Lynch, and then she had to walk all the way over to the ropes because she couldn't support herself because her leg was dead, and then she did the Piper's Pit, which is kind of like just a fall away slam or something.
Yeah, but it's kind of like imagine a fireman's carry into like with an ankle slams rotation.
Yeah.
And you basically have that.
And then the thing is, Becky Lynch held on. And, while unfortunately, I think breaking Ronda's arm because her arm kind of bent backwards in some sort of way.
Well, from what she tweeted out, I think Ronda broke her hand punching Becky in the face.
Okay.
I only say that because Becky tweeted out, "Congrats on breaking your hand on the face you said was so breakable."
Yeah.
So unless she just tweeted that to be funny, this could have also been the moment she broke her hand too.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of.
There were a lot of.
I don't remember at the exact moment she broke her hand, but she broke her hand, unfortunately. And the thing is, after that move, Becky kind of hung on to the back of her shoulders and leaned backwards to give her the pin, and it was a very awkward looking pin. And the ref started counting 1 and 2, and in my mind, I was like, all right, so Ronda's gonna kick out, right? And then ref counted to 3, and I was like, oh, huh? But I was like, yeah, because Becky Lynch won.
Yeah, no, I mean...
So I accepted the result, and I remember Corey Graves was really talking about it. He was like, I think we really need to take another look at that. Ronda's shoulders may not have been up, so now people are talking about it. Is it a work? Is it not a work? Did they do it just so none of the women look bad and stuff like that? Because again, this was Ronda's first pinfall loss. Becky now has both titles because they're supposedly going to reunify the titles and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. Either way, I liked how it worked out. Petry, any thoughts on how it kind of like happened?
I think it's probably a work. I think like you said, it keeps everyone looking strong. It'll be. I mean, they can at least play it off as a work, and that's the best silver lining of all is when you can at least play it off that way, even if it wasn't intended. Mm-hmm. Overall, it was a fine match and worthy of being the main event for the story that went into it. That's just about all the time we got.
I was going to say all the time.
If we want to just wrap up and give this WrestleMania a quick grade before we.
I was going to say, yeah, no, that definitely sounds good. I would give WrestleMania I would give it an A for a grade, probably I'd say somewhere between 9 and 9.5 out of 10.
I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. I mean, no really reason why. You guys just have to watch it for yourself. Again, watching it live is much better than anything else because that's when you get the genuine opinions. But in my opinion, I really think it was a show that was put on and orchestrated quite well.
I mean, if we had more time, honestly, this might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite WrestleMania weekends of all time because pair this with... I mean, next. Oh.
No. Guys, I'm sorry. I hit the metal crate behind us. Sorry.
Well, as Gabe tries to roll from his enclosure, I mean, for those of you who are as big wrestling fans as we are, you'll know that NXT TakeOver New York also happened and was a legendary event. And you paired that with one of the most fulfilling WrestleManias in a while. Oh, Lord. And it was just a great weekend of wrestling.
Guys, do yourself a favor if you watch the 2 out of 3 Falls match between Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano. I know we don't have time to talk about it, but... Instant match of the year candidate, if not the match of the year candidate right now. All right. So that's going to do it here for Walerysiak and Petry Wrestling. Hope you guys do enjoy this new podcast. I'm going to work on getting a Twitter and maybe some other social media handles up and running and getting some of that good stuff. So maybe you can ask us some questions and so we could, attend to those in some future episodes of the podcast. And I think next week, in terms of WWE at least, we'll probably talk about some superstar shakeup, reaction, see what happens. And if any other major wrestling events or news happens while in the week, we'll be sure to address them.
Damn straight.
Yeah. You excited for more episodes of this podcast?
Oh, I'm very excited. This was a lot of fun. Depending on how it goes, we might start making them a little longer. We have a bit of flexibility with that. So,
for sure.
Please, once we have our social media all set up, please feel free to hit us with feedback. We'd love to hear it, especially from you, Jordan and Trav, because I know you two are at least watching.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, guys, that's going to do it for WPW, Walerysiak and Petry Wrestling. I'm Gabe Walerysiak. He's Matt Petry.
And thank you for listening.
Signing out. Have a good one, guys.
Woo!